Over 3 million NATO troops surround Russia. Can NATO defend against Russia? A high level of armed conflict in NATO versus Russia, that would involve many of the world's most potent military forces, is being avoided by the two sides. But NATO has signaled it is ready to increase its presence along its eastern and southeastern borders should President Putin decide to launch a new invasion of Ukraine. The high-readiness troops and NATO deployments across Europe are designed to respond to an emergency or to deter threats. How many troops does NATO have? The NATO alliance, which is made up of 30 countries, has a response force comprising of 40,000 soldiers, sailors and airmen which could be deployed in a crisis. Units take part in an operations role for a 12-month period, in which they are first responders in an emergency, such as a military threat or a natural disaster. The North Atlantic Council is the main political decision-making body of the alliance, and is responsible for deciding whether it should be called into action. NATO member states as a whole have more than 3 million personnel, in addition to large modern arsenals of missiles, air forces, fleets and other weaponry. The United States, the largest and most militarily advanced member, has around 1.3 million active personnel. Where are NATO's units deployed in Eastern Europe? NATO has 4 multinational battalion-size battle groups located in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania and Poland, and are comprised of troops from several member countries. The battle groups operate on a rotational basis, and are led by the UK, Canada, Germany, or the US. Last month, NATO said the groups are robust and combat-ready forces. Mr. Stoltenberg also said it is prepared to rapidly reinforce that presence earlier by sending additional forces and capabilities into the area. The NATO forces are supported by US troops. The US also has bases in Lithuania and Romania, and several in Poland. Last month, US President Joe Biden approved the deployment of 3,000 troops to Poland, Germany, and Romania. The following is the Russian military force that will fight the NATO and US troops if the Great War really happens. Russia military power. The Russian armed forces are one of the world's largest military forces, with around 1 million active duty personnel, which is the world's 5th largest, and at least 2 million reserve personnel. It is mandatory for all male citizens aged 18 to 27 to be drafted for a year of service in the armed forces. As the world's second most powerful military, the Russian armed forces have the world's largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. It possesses the second largest fleet of ballistic missile submarines, and is one of only 3 militaries operating strategic bombers. The Russian armed forces have the world's largest tank forces, and the second most powerful air force and navy fleet. Russia has the world's 4th highest military expenditure, spending $61.7 billion in 2020. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the share of modern weaponry in service with Russia's army and fleet amounts to 71.2% with serviceability of weapons at 99% as of 2021. About 70% of the former Soviet Union's defense industries are located in the Russian Federation. Many defense firms have been privatized, some have developed significant partnerships with firms in other countries. The recent steps towards modernization of the armed forces have been made possible by Russia's economic resurgence based on oil and gas revenues, as well as strengthening of its own domestic market. Currently, the military is in the middle of a major equipment upgrade, with the government in the process of spending about $200 billion, what equals to about $400 billion in PPP dollars, on development and production of military equipment. At this point, the Russian MOD plans to purchase, among others, up to 250 ICBMs, 800 aircraft, 1,200 helicopters, 44 submarines, 36 frigates, 28 corvettes, 18 cruisers, 24 destroyers, 6 aircraft carriers, and 62 air defense battalions. Several existing types will be upgraded. The share of modern and advanced weapons in some branches of the Russian armed forces currently amounts over 60%, the Defense Ministry reported. The armed forces received more than 30,000 units of new and modernized weapons and equipment, including more than 50 warships, 1,300 aircraft, over 1,800 drones, 4,700 tanks and armored combat vehicles compared to 2 warships, 151 aircraft and 217 tanks received. The Russian army also receives 150 to 250 aircraft per year, and over 300 short-range UAVs. 12 missile regiments have been rearmed with Yars ICBMs, 10 missile brigades with Iskander tactical ballistic missile systems, 13 aviation regiments with MiG-31BM, Su-35S, Su-30SM, and Su-34 combat aircraft, 3 Army aviation brigades and 6 helicopter regiments with Mi-28N and Ka-52 combat helicopters, 20 surface-to-air missile SAM regiments with S-400 Triumph SAM systems, 23 batteries with Panzer S self-propelled anti-aircraft gun missile systems, and 17 batteries with Ball and Bastion mobile coastal defense missile systems, MCDMSs, since 2012, and as of March 2019. Since 2012, and as of April 2021, the ground forces have received more than 15,500 pieces of weapon systems and equipment and rearmed all missile brigades with the Iskander tactical ballistic missile system. Aerospace Force and Naval Aviation have received over 1,500 aircraft and helicopters, and the Navy more than 190 ships, vessels and boats. Since 2012, and as of December 2020, the number of long-range land-, sea-, and air-launched cruise missiles increased by 37 times. The number of their carriers was also increased by 13 times. Nuclear weapons. As of January 2017, the Federation of American Scientists estimated that Russia has approximately 1,765 deployed strategic warheads, and another 2,700 non-deployed strategic and deployed and non-deployed tactical warheads, plus an additional 2,510 warheads awaiting dismantlement. 117. Russia's Strategic Rocket Forces controls its land-based nuclear warheads, while the Navy controls the submarine-based missiles, and the Aerospace Forces the air-launched warheads. Russia's nuclear warheads are deployed in 4 areas. 1. Land-based immobile silos, like R-36, and its replacement RS-28 Sarmat. 2. Land-based mobile, like RT-2PM2 Topolem and new RS-24 Yars. 3. Submarine-based, like R-29 RMU-2 Laner and RSM-56 Bulava. 4. Air-launched warheads of the Russian Air Force's Long-Range Aviation Command. The military doctrine of Russia sees NATO expansion as one of the threats for the Russian Federation and reserves the right to use nuclear weapons in response to a conventional aggression that can endanger the existence of the state. In keeping with this, the country's nuclear forces received adequate funding throughout the late 1990s. The number of intercontinental ballistic missiles and warheads on active duty has declined over the years, in part in keeping with arms limitation agreements with the US and in part due to insufficient spending on maintenance, but this is balanced by the deployment of new missiles as proof against missile defenses. Russia has developed the new RT-2PM2 Topolem, SS-27, missiles that a Russian general claimed to be able to penetrate any missile defense, including the planned US national missile defense. The missile can change course in both air and space to avoid countermeasures. It is designed to be launched from land-based, mobile TEL units. In the late evening of September 11, 2007, the fuel-air explosive AVBPM, or father of all bombs, was successfully field-tested. According to the Russian military, the new weapon will replace several smaller types of nuclear bombs in its arsenal.